Hello YouTube, it's that guy 711. Thought I'd do a little bit of an overview video on my 1976 F-250 Highboy. This truck is, I've had it a little over a year. It's running and driving now. I'm doing some interior work on it. I completely swapped the drivetrain. It's got a 6BT 12 valve Cummins. It's got a ZF5 5-speed transmission, the divorced NP205 transfer case, and of course a couple Dana 60 axles. Start with the engine. Engine came out of a 1996 F800 dump truck. So main reason I really wanted one of these engines, let's see if I can get this down here, is because of that tag right there. If you can see it, yeah, right there. Built by Cummins for Ford Motor Company. You know, people say that these swaps are overly done on these Highboys, and you know, I tend to agree. When looking to do a swap on this truck, I was considering all my options. You know, I considered a DT 466 and a Power Stroke. I really wanted to do a Power Stroke, but it's just such a pain with the wiring and electronics and stuff. So I want the easy route. Also, money was a factor. I wanted to do this swap on the cheap, kind of. As anything goes, you can never do it on the cheap like you figure. But we'll start up here. Like I said, rebuilt, fire rings, or O-ring, studded. Got bigger injectors in it. It's got an HX40 with a billet turbo, or billet wheel. It's the industrial engine, so it has the industrial setup, 160 amp Bosch alternator. I mean, not really anything too special. Stock Ford radiator, just record it. That's how I did my upper radiator hose. Yeah, let's see. Hydraulic clutch for the ZF5, mounted on the firewall right there with the reinforcement plate. Doesn't give much. New brake booster. Intercooler setup. Just an El Cheapo intercooler off eBay. I think I spent $100 on it. Had to trim the grill a little bit, but nothing like you have to do for the Power Stroke intercooler. So that's why I went with this setup. Like I said, Dana 60s out of a 78-79. Also did the 78-79 power steering conversion, which, and there's my lower radiator hose, made with exhaust pipe and hose out of a Caterpillar engine. I converted my power steering lines to hydraulic fittings. Ordered parts from Jegs to do that, so made those right up. Easy. Yeah. Let's see. Transmission, like I said, the ZF5 out of a 94 F350. See if you can see it here. There it is. When I bought the engine, my cross member, custom drive shaft, 19 3/4 from Henderson Driveline, NP205 transfer case. Due to the way the engine sits, because I use diesel conversion, no, I use Auto World conversion mount, it centers the engine on the frame. So instead of being offset like the original factory 300 inline 6, it's offset just to the right. So I ended up having to go with a twin stick setup from JB Custom Fab. And there's that. My floor looks nasty. I'm working on it. It's not rusty. They use this the old insulation on the floor. I went to pull it up, and it left all these little hairs. So in order to put my Dynamat down, I've painted it over heavily with bed liner, and waiting for that to dry. So there's that. Set up how it looks. But yeah, got the seat out right now. Nothing real special. Rear end, Dana 60. Like I said, this one came out of a 78-79 as well. 354 gears, fuel tank. This is a 44-gallon fuel tank out of a 2011 to 2017 F450. I made a skid plate for it, and also got a diesel sump under there that feeds an Air Dog fuel pump. On the other side, where is that? There it is, right there. Exhaust is just mocked up with clamps right now until I get around to welding it on. It's a 3rd gen exhaust that I got from a buddy of mine, because free is always good on a build like this. Vinyl floor getting ready to go in. Something that I picked up for the front, and I gotta build a bumper for it. But this is a original Warren Bellevue big 8,000 pound winch that'll go on the front to complete the vintage look. Let's see. Nothing super fancy going on here. I will tell you though, I hate these tripod gauges. I absolutely hate them. But I went with it because these Ford gauges, they don't give you a reading. They give you, it's basically, is it good or is it bad? And I wanted an exact reading. Fuel gauge is, well, let me think here. Okay, so the oil pressure gauge is hooked up, but it's also hooked up on here, right there. The fuel gauge is hooked up. I figured out that this bigger tank in the back is the same depth as the Ford factory tank that sat behind the seat. So I built an adapter plate that fit the stock Ford sending unit to that diesel tank. And so all I had to do was run a longer wire and hook it up. It works flawlessly. I have a autometer tachometer that's going to go here. Should fit right in this opening, which would be nice. Yeah, so the factory temperature and the amp meter is no longer functional. This is what I did for my clutch setup. It's kind of a mess under here right now, but I used the stock Ford clutch pedal and I welded on this bracket. As you can see, I replaced that crappy joint on the ZF5 master cylinder with a, I guess you call it a Heim joint maybe, from work, and it works great. Very little flex. Release is great. This is what I did for my throttle cable. So I used the Ford factory throttle cable that came on this truck, and I modified the pedal by putting a hole right above it and moving the arm from outside the truck to on here. And it comes through the firewall and it just pulls it straight back. I'll show you that too. I forgot to show you that out there. Keyed ignition. Didn't want to mess around with the solenoid for the fuel pump, so it has a fuel shut off. Works great. Also goes with my vintage feel that I'm going for on this truck. But here, I'll show you the throttle cable. If you can see it, I don't even know if you can see it really, but you can see the linkage right down there. And it fits right on this. Because this is a industrial setup, it doesn't have the throttle cable stuff in the front like the Dodge P pumps do, so it's all in the back. All I did was build a little bracket to hold the cable in there. Probably can't see, it's right there, and then it just Z's up right back to right there in the firewall. Best thing about this build is just having to think about it. Yeah, I know, Rural King batteries, haha, I'm getting over it. I needed something cheap to move this truck. I just bought this house and needed something cheap to move the truck over here, so we'll get better batteries. 33-inch tires. Well, actually 285s, I think. So yeah, best thing about this build is figuring out problems, figuring out solutions to the problems. And this is a bone stock F250 custom when I got it, and it's going to turn into a pretty sweet rig here soon. So like this video, subscribe, leave comments, ask me any questions you want. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.